I have a special Christmas gift for you, and it's one you won't want to wait until December 25th to open. My narrator, the fabulous Aimee Lilly, who has narrated all my books, has just completed and gotten for me a sneak peek of Before We Belong. It's the Christmas short story in my Discerning God's Best series. But here's the fun part. The full audiobook is available. But there's a catch. There's only one way for you to get a hold of it. It is going to be available on YouTube, but you're going to need an exclusive code. And the way to get that code is to sign up for my newsletter. Now, you might ask, why would I do that? Why would I make it not free to everyone? Well, there's a reason for that. I'm not just giving away books just to give them away. My purpose is to create community, and I want to create that community with you. And so in order for me to get to know you a little bit better, since there aren't pen pals very much these days anymore, I really would love for you to be a part of my email family. So when you sign up for my newsletter, you will not only get the exclusive code to Before We Belong, the Christmas short story, but you'll also get an additional free book, Deep in My Heart, and that's the prequel to the Discerning God's Best series. If you've enjoyed this series and the narration of Aimee Lilly, you are most definitely not going to want to miss these. Open your Christmas gift today by simply signing up for my newsletter. Everything you need to know is in the description. And Merry Christmas from my family to yours.
Mary had been the neighbor girl who had followed him through pecan groves and creek beds, insisting she could climb as high and ride as fast. But that was years ago. The young woman before him now had grown into something steadier. She was still strong, still bright-eyed, but now possessed a quiet grace that stopped him short. When she turned and saw him, surprise lifted her brows. "Mr. Traxler." He almost smiled at the formality. She had called him Melvin all their lives. Now the title sounded too polished on her tongue, a sign of the distance that time and social expectation had placed between them. He lifted the crate off his arm. "My father sends this with his greetings, pecans and oranges from Savannah." Mary descended the ladder, brushing pine needles from her skirt. A faint blush touched her cheek. How thoughtful of him. Mr. Rogers approached from behind the manger frame, a hammer in hand and his expression open. "And thoughtful of you to deliver it yourself, son. We're grateful, though I expect your father's gifts cost more than they're worth to him." Melvin's lips curved slightly. "They do tend to come with a receipt." Mr. Rogers laughed, the sound rolling like good soil turned beneath a plow. "Then you'll appreciate the return on your labor. Care to help us raise this manger?" Delphina handed Melvin a mallet, the corner of her mouth lifting. "He looks strong enough." Mary kneeled beside the frame to hold the lower joint. As Melvin fit the peg into place, their fingers brushed. She drew back first, but the warmth lingered longer than he cared to admit. When the final board settled, Mr. Rogers leaned on the hammer and studied their work. "That'll stand firm enough for a king." Melvin wiped his hands on his gloves. "King?" "For our play. I hope you'll attend." Mary's eyelashes brushed the tops of her rosy cheeks. "And who plays the king?" Melvin inquired. She lifted her gaze then. "No one. We leave that part to the telling. Everyone has a role, though, each one of us." Delphina's eyes caught his. "Some haven't discovered their role yet." The words were cryptic. Melvin's gaze drifted around the barn to the rough timbers and a bright lantern, its sparkling globe somehow free of soot. His own family's worship at Christmas had always been measured by attendance and attire. Here it was measured by warmth. He cleared his throat. You'll hold the play here? When? Right here, after church on Sunday. Mr. Rogers swept his hand as if showcasing a grand ballroom. You're preparing a mite early, aren't you? In a way. We'll be attending your family function on Friday night, but tonight'll be a celebration for our staff. The cellar's too small, and heaven isn't particular about ceilings. Melvin's gaze drifted across the barn as he took in the benches lined neatly against the walls, the fresh hay swept smooth, the single Bible resting open on a small table. The quiet order of it stirred something unspoken. He'd heard whispers over the years that the Rogers family let their servants worship privately in the cellar on Sundays, though such liberty was frowned upon among men like his father. But to provide a Christmas celebration just for them? It struck him then that this gathering wasn't for display. The garland, the manger, every careful touch wasn't to impress, but to offer hope to those who had little else but faith to call their own. A wry smile threatened, though he kept it in check. The irony wasn't lost on him. The Rogers servants were the first to taste a celebration meant for everyone. By the time the townsfolk arrived, they'd never guess who had danced on these floors, eaten from the tables, or bowed their heads here first. He turned back to Mr. Rogers and found respect rising without effort. I'd like to see that. You'd be welcome, Mary breathed, though her gaze didn't meet his. He would have liked nothing more. I wish I could. It looks much more fun than what my father has planned this evening. Speaking of which, I must take my leave. From the outside, the sound of hooves moving too hard for pleasure echoed on the frozen road. Delphina's head lifted, a faint crease forming between her brows. Someone's in a hurry. I'll go check, she murmured. Mary glanced around the room. Who could it be? Mr. Rogers didn't flinch. Jonah, would you play for us, please? Jonah stood, his hand covering his mouth as a soulful noise filled the air. A gust of cold air pressed against the doorway where Delphina's silhouette hovered, half in shadow, half in lamplight. Mary squinted toward the dark. Do you suppose someone's lost? Or late, Melvin said quietly. Either way, Delphina shouldn't be out there alone. I'll see who it is. Mary's pulse quickened. Not for Melvin, not yet, but for the unknown guest who approached their humble barn on such a night.